All right, today we're diving into something really big. We're talking about a massive shift happening in Africa's economic future. You see, a new kind of engine is being built, one that's not powered by what's buried in the ground, but by knowledge, by technology, and by a force that's changing everything, artificial intelligence.
It's a huge question, right? For centuries, the answer for a lot of places was simple: natural resources. But as we're about to see, that answer is changing. A major shift is happening that's totally redefining where real, sustainable growth actually comes from.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. The entire economic game for the African continent is shifting from a resource-based economy to a knowledge-based one. Think about it. It's a move from extraction to creation. It's about stopping our reliance on things that run out and instead building with something that's infinite: human ingenuity.
But, and this is a big but, making this shift isn't exactly a smooth ride. In fact, right at the heart of it is this huge challenge, this innovation paradox. You've got two of the most powerful engines for growth, but it's like they're not even connected to the same car.
Okay, so what we've got here is a tale of two completely separate worlds. On one side, you have this incredible, buzzing startup scene. Picture a fintech company in Nairobi, right? They're building an amazing app for farmers, but they're getting hammered by sophisticated fraud. Then, just a few miles down the road, you've got a brilliant PhD student at a top university who just published groundbreaking research on, you guessed it, a new AI model for predicting financial fraud. See the problem? They're both doing amazing work, but they're in their own little bubbles. It's such a massive missed opportunity.
So you gotta ask, why the disconnect? Well, researchers have pretty much nailed it down to 4 big barriers. First up, funding. It's a double whammy. Universities don't have enough R&D cash, and venture capital, well, they often get nervous about the long-term deep tech stuff that comes out of labs. Second, you've got this human capital gap. Sometimes university courses are too theoretical, and on the flip side, startups can be wary of academic red tape. Third, intellectual property, a total minefield. Universities want to publish their work, but startups need to keep their secrets. And finally, there's just a lack of simple, formal ways for these two worlds to meet, to collaborate easily, and
Now, this whole disconnect thing has been a problem for a while, but what if something came along that could just shatter that wall? A new force with the power to completely rewrite the rules and actually bridge that gap. And we are, of course, talking about AI. And to really get a sense of just how big of a deal this is, just look at that number. Nearly $3 trillion. That's the potential economic kick AI could give to Africa's GDP by 2015. I mean, we're not talking about a little bump here. We're talking about a quantum leap that could totally reshape entire economies.
And it's not just about money, right? This is about people. This is about potential. Projections show AI could spark the creation of 500,000 new high-skilled jobs every single year. For a continent with the youngest and fastest-growing population on the planet, that is a game changer for tackling youth unemployment.
So here's the really crucial part, the ambition. The goal here isn't just to be a good customer for AI developed somewhere else. No, the strategy is to capture more than 10% of the global AI market. It's a huge shift from being a consumer of technology to becoming a producer and owner of that intellectual property.
But, and this is so important, with all of this incredible opportunity comes a very real risk. See, if the AI systems being used are all built on data from outside of Africa, they can end up reinforcing old biases. They can create a new kind of dependency. Some people are even calling it algorithmic colonization. The choice couldn't be more clear. Use AI to leapfrog ahead, or risk being defined by the biases of whoever controls the code.
So that brings us to the core strategy, the big response to this challenge. It's not just about grabbing onto AI. It's about building an entire ecosystem on Africa's own terms. It's about architecting what's called digital sovereignty. So, what does that actually mean, digital sovereignty? Well, in simple terms, it's the power to control your own digital destiny. It means having the ability to create your own AI models trained on local data that actually gets local realities. It means hosting that data on your own servers in your own country and governing the whole thing with your own laws and your own ethics. It's really about economic and cultural self-determination in the 21st century. And you know, this quote from Professor Ogunsola at the University of Lagos, wow, it just nails it. It's this powerful, urgent call to action. She's framing this not as some tech issue, but as a fight for agency, a fight for the right to write your own story in the digital age. And the great thing is, this isn't just a theory or some far-off dream. It's actually happening on the ground right now.
All across the continent, you're seeing these amazing partnerships pop up. Universities, global tech companies, and governments all working together to build the foundation for this digital sovereignty.
A perfect example is the first ever OpenAI Academy in Africa, right there at the University of Lagos. And its mission? It's crystal clear. This isn't just about teaching people how to use AI tools. The real goal is to turn them from being passive consumers into active creators, innovators who can build Africa's AI future, a future that's grounded in local needs and local context.
And this is where the rubber really meets the road. One of the first things to come out of this partnership was the launch of ChatGPT Go. Now, this isn't just some small product tweak. By creating a super low-cost subscription plan specifically for African markets, like dropping the price in Nigeria from over 30,000 naira to just 7,000, they've massively lowered the barrier to entry. They're putting world-class AI tools right into the hands of students and entrepreneurs.
Okay, so what's fascinating is seeing how all this bottom-up energy is being met with top-down strategy, and everybody's taking a slightly different path. You've got Kenya championing a startup bill, Nigeria is all in on public-private partnerships, South Africa has a really mature legal system for this stuff, and Rwanda is taking this super-focused, top-down, vision-driven approach. Each country is building its own unique road to a knowledge economy.
But here's what makes this whole approach so different, and frankly, so exciting. The goal isn't to just copy and paste what worked in Silicon Valley. No, there's a real, growing movement to make sure that as Africa builds its AI future, the technology itself is shaped by local, indigenous values and philosophies.
And this table just brilliantly breaks down that difference. A lot of African ethical thinking is rooted in the philosophy of Ubuntu, which you can kind of summarize as I am because we are. Now look at how that compares to many Western models. Where Western ethics often focus on individual rights, Ubuntu emphasizes the well-being of the whole community. So that leads you to design AI for public health, not just for an individual user. Instead of just punishing bad behavior, it favors restorative justice. It's a fundamentally different worldview, and it's being coded directly into the technology.
So we've got this incredible potential, this unique ethical approach. So what's the plan? How do we accelerate all this? How do we make sure those two ecosystems, the universities and the startups, finally connect and start firing on all cylinders? Let's look at a clear blueprint for action.
First up, for the universities, it calls for some deep changes. We're talking about reforming the rules of the game. Things like tenure and promotion can't just be about publishing papers anymore. They've got to start rewarding patents, company spin-offs, and real-world industry work. And universities need to open their doors, bringing in market experts with programs like Entrepreneur in Residence.
And for startups, the message is pretty simple. Be proactive. Don't sit around waiting for an invitation. Actively hunt for university research that could give you a real competitive edge. And the key is to start small. Build trust with something low risk, like an internship program, before you go jumping into a huge, complex R&D contract.
And finally, for governments, the tools they have are incredibly powerful. A dual funding strategy is key. That means putting public money into both that foundational research happening at universities and into funds that invest alongside private venture capital, making it less risky for them to back these new deep tech companies. At the same time, governments can be the most important first customer, using their own purchasing power to create a guaranteed market for local innovations to get off the ground.
So when you put it all together, it really all comes down to this. The talent is there and it's growing. The tools are getting cheaper and more accessible. The strategies are being written. The momentum, you can feel it. So the question for the continent is no longer if it will be part of the AI revolution. The real question is, will Africa simply consume a future that was designed somewhere else, or will it create its own? The answer is being written right now, in the code, in the companies, and in the classrooms.